Southwest of Wadere is an area called Ditchi. It's another homeland that the local people are slowly trying to move back into, one camping trip at a time. The track down is unpeopled. It feels like we're at the edge of the world out here. Dirt roads become black soil ruts, still wet from rains weeks ago, hidden from the balmy sun by thick ferns. Going back to nature isn't something that's easy to do. I remember a story about some of the last Aboriginals to come out of the Pilbara Desert. They were a couple that had been wandering around, alone, for 60 years, banished from their tribe for marrying the wrong skin group. It wasn't hard to convince them to leave the land in the end. Someone mentioned the magic of clean water coming out of a pipe. That was enough to convince them. Now we can travel to places like Ditchi Beach, a broad sandy expanse ringed by casuarinas and mangroves, and chase our lost innocence without all of the small tortures of truly living wild. We have the best of all worlds.
Mate, this is an absolutely beautiful bit of country, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful country. I'm not from this area, but I have the respect and the TAs have given me knowledge and the approval to bring you out to share this with everyone. And it's a privilege for me.
This part of the country is so raw, it's so untamed, you know, there's no development up here.
Yeah, it's virgin country. It's hard to explain. It's just, it's nature. It takes its own course. I love it. It's beautiful. And we're in the top end.
Pretty special part of the world.
Yeah, very special part of the world. And thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yep, no problem.
We camped on a dune that night, content to leave the fishing gear packed up and just sit back and take it all in. Watching the day fold into night over a turquoise ocean and an open flame, we had a lot to let sink in from this place. There were so many things to think about here. The interplay between the ancient and the new, between water and land and man, between missionary progress and wild innocence. Wadere is a living, breathing anachronism. The people here live in a world between worlds. They were cast out of this garden by, ironically, the very missionaries telling them what they thought was an old story, a 2,000-year-old myth about losing one's homeland and innocence. Imagine telling a culture over 50,000 years old that only you can understand what it means to be cast out of the garden, to live a brutal life separated from the land, as you let them taste the edge of the blade of progress. They were lured off the land with sugar and tobacco, pacified so that the pastoralist here could graze their land without consequence. Maybe there is something in these people that can save them. Maybe you can take the humans out of the land, but you can't take the land out of the humans. It's a heavy trip up here. Too often, when we venture beyond the edge, into the true outback, we find the voice of God in the stones and the snakes. But here, in the Northern Territory, where memory still lives, we perhaps are the serpent in this story.
Liminality is the word that describes a peculiar human condition that exists within a ritual. It's that strange, undefined world that we live in when we've ceased to become what we once were, but we've yet to solidify into what we've become. And I think that's a perfect metaphor for the open road. When we're traveling, we say that the journey is always more important than the destination. That's because we've left somewhere, and when we're out there driving down the highway with the landscape rolling away from each side of the foreby, we're in between places. We do have a destination in mind, but we're not there yet. And in that moment, when nothing is certain, where the world is changing a mile a minute, that's where real growth can happen. That's ultimately where all real growth happens. In that moment, in that liminality of the road, that's what teaches us how important the ritual of travel is.